I sent the message right after takeoff. Family group chat, no dramatic punctuation, no desperate emojis, just flight lands at 3 p.m. at O'Hare. Can someone pick me up? I just buried my husband. A military funeral at Fort Campbell, folded flag, 21-gun salute, a casket that felt heavier than anything I've ever carried, though I wasn't the one lifting it. David and I had been married for 8 years. Most of those spent apart. Deployments don't care about anniversaries or birthdays or the way your voice cracks when you say goodbye through a computer screen. But love doesn't keep receipts. So I didn't ask for much. Just a ride home from O'Hare to our little house in Naperville. The reply came before we even reached cruising altitude. Kevin, sorry Jen, we're swamped today. Maybe try Lyft? Then 2 minutes later. Mom, honestly Jennifer, why didn't you plan this better? You knew you'd need transportation. No, how was the service? No, we're so sorry for your loss. No, we're proud of David's sacrifice. Just that cold, fast, clinical dismissal. I sat by the window seat, the United Airlines plane lifting above the clouds, and stared into the kind of silence that doesn't come from grief. It comes from realization. You think family catches you when you fall, but sometimes they're the ones who pushed you. So I typed one sentence back. No worries. That was it. No fight, no guilt trip, no explanation of how I'd spent the last week choosing between burial plots and making arrangements alone while they went about their regular Tuesday routines. Just silence. When we landed at Terminal 2, I didn't cry. Didn't beg. I pulled my black peacoat tight, walked past the baggage carousel where other passengers were hugging their people, and stepped toward the exit. That's when I saw them. 3 figures in navy dress blues standing near the United customer service desk. 2 women, 1 man, all with that unmistakable military bearing, shoulders back, eyes forward, purpose in every step. Mrs. Jennifer Collins? The woman in front stepped forward. Petty Officer Rodriguez, according to her name tape. We're here to escort you home. Because here's the thing, while Kevin was swamped and Mom was judging my planning skills, they didn't know who else had flown back with me. They didn't know about the phone call I'd made from the funeral home in Kentucky. They didn't know about the conversation that started with "my family can't pick me up," and ended with "we'll handle it, ma'am. No sailor's widow comes home alone." They didn't know what I'd arranged during those long quiet hours at the base guest lodge. That night, I didn't send a follow-up message to the family chat. Didn't post anything on Facebook. I just sat in my living room, still wearing that black dress, David's flag folded on the coffee table beside a cup of chamomile tea that had gone cold. But I knew that by tomorrow morning, everyone in Chicago would know exactly what happened at O'Hare International Airport. The doorbell rang at 9 p.m. A reporter from Channel 7 News stood on my porch, camera crew behind her. "Mrs. Collins? We'd like to ask you about what happened today." The story aired on the 10 o'clock news. I didn't watch it live, couldn't bear to, but I knew it was happening because my phone started buzzing at exactly 10:47 p.m. "Unknown number, just saw you on ABC 7. God bless you." Another unknown, Channel 5 just picked up your story. You're not alone. LinkedIn notification, veterans of foreign wars shared your post. I hadn't made any posts. But someone had been recording. The next morning, I finally watched it online. The anchor, Patricia Martinez, spoke with that trained compassion that delivers both tragedies and triumphs in the same measured tone. A Chicago-area Navy widow returned home from her husband's funeral yesterday, not to waiting family, but to something unexpected. Then came the footage. Security camera feed from O'Hare Terminal 2. Me walking through the arrivals area in my black coat, American flag tucked under my arm like something precious and fragile. And behind me, 3 sailors in full dress uniform, moving like an honor guard. The camera caught the moment I stopped, turned, and handed something to Petty Officer Rodriguez. A small manila envelope with David's name written in my careful handwriting. In an exclusive interview, Patricia continued, the widow revealed she was met not by her Chicago family, but by active-duty personnel from Great Lakes Naval Station who arranged a military escort home after learning she would otherwise return alone. They showed the screenshot I'd given them. My text to the family chat, and the 2 responses that followed. No names visible, but the timestamp was clear, sent 11:47 a.m. Read by Kevin, Mom, Dad, Aunt Linda. Mrs. Collins declined our request for a live interview, Patricia explained, but she did provide this written statement. My words filled the screen, typed on David's old laptop at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. When someone you love dies serving this country, you learn quickly who considers that sacrifice worth their time. Today I learned that strangers in uniform understand honor better than some people who share my last name. If you're watching this and you've ever left someone standing alone in their darkest hour, I hope you'll remember this feeling the next time your phone rings. The story ran for exactly 90 seconds. But that was enough. By midnight, it had been shared 40,000 times on Facebook. By morning, it was trending on Twitter with the hashtag #NeverAloneChicago. Good Morning America picked it up by Thursday. CNN by Friday. And in Kevin's condo in Lincoln Park, in Mom's kitchen in Schaumburg, phones were buzzing with friends and neighbors sending links. Isn't this your daughter-in-law? I think I know this woman. Doesn't she go to your church? Holy shit, Kevin. Did you really leave her at the airport? The family group chat stayed silent for 72 hours. No reactions, no apologies, not even a private message asking if I was okay. But silence tells its own story, and theirs was starting to unravel. Friday evening, my sister-in-law Melissa sent a direct message. Was that you on Channel 2? I read it. Didn't respond. She didn't ask again. But by then, the story had grown beyond their ability to control it, and I was just getting started. The calls started Saturday morning. Not from family, from strangers who'd found my number somehow, all saying the same thing, thank you for speaking up. By noon, there were 17 voicemails. A Gold Star mother from Rockford. A Marine veteran from Peoria. A woman whose husband never made it back from Afghanistan, saying my story made her feel less alone in her living room at midnight when the silence got too heavy. That's when Mom tried to control the narrative. She posted an old photo on Facebook, me, Kevin and her at Navy Pier maybe 10 years ago, all smiles and deep dish pizza. Caption, family first, always and forever. Love you both so much. Red heart. 43 likes in the first hour. But the comments told a different story. Janet Morrison, didn't you see the news? She needed you and you weren't there. Robertson, my wife saw this on Channel 7. Said you couldn't pick up your daughter-in-law from the airport after her husband's funeral? That true? Former neighbor Sandra Williams, always wondered about your priorities, Patricia. Now I know. Mom disabled comments by 3 p.m. Too late, screenshots were already circulating in the local Facebook groups. Naperville Moms, Chicago Military Families, DuPage County Veterans. Kevin's approach was different. He sent a text Sunday morning, didn't realize it was that serious. You should have been clearer about needing help. I stared at that message for 20 minutes. As if grief comes with an instruction manual. As if burying your husband in a cemetery in Kentucky is something you should have to explain better to your own brother. I typed 3 different responses. Deleted them all. Finally settled on, you made your choice. So did I. No reply. That evening, I got a call from Channel 7. Patricia Martinez again. Mrs. Collins, we've been getting hundreds of calls about your story. People want to help. Would you consider doing a follow-up segment? Let people know how they can support military families going through similar situations. I said yes. Not for revenge, for purpose. The second interview was different. Longer, more personal. Patricia asked about David, about the funeral, about what it felt like to send that text and get those responses. I didn't want pity, I told her, sitting in the same black dress I'd worn to the airport. I wanted presence. There's a difference between someone feeling sorry for you and someone showing up for you. I talked about the sailors who met me at O'Hare. How Petty Officer Rodriguez had driven me home in her personal car, refused to leave until she was sure I had food in the refrigerator and someone to call if I needed anything. Blood doesn't make someone family, I said, looking directly into the camera. Showing up does. The segment aired Tuesday night. 8 minutes this time. Prime time. Response was immediate and overwhelming. The Chicago Tribune picked it up Wednesday. The Daily Herald by Thursday. By Friday, I was getting calls from military family support organizations across the Midwest. But the call that mattered most came Saturday morning. Unknown number, local area code, Mrs. Collins? This is Lisa from the Veterans Administration. We'd like to talk to you about starting something. It started with a name, the Bridge Home Project. Lisa Patterson from the VA had seen the interview and called with an idea that took my breath away. What if we made sure no military spouse ever had to come home alone again? Within 2 weeks, we had our first meeting at the Naperville Community Center. 12 people showed up. By our second meeting, 37. By the third, we'd outgrown the room and moved to the American Legion Hall on Route 59. The concept was simple, a network of volunteers who would meet military families at Chicago area airports when they returned from funerals, deployments, or medical emergencies, especially when their own families couldn't or wouldn't show up. Airport angels, someone suggested during our fourth meeting. Homecoming heroes, offered another. But I knew what we were really doing. We were building bridges over the spaces where families had left gaps. The first official bridge home pickup happened on a Thursday morning at Midway. Marine Corps widow named Ashley Thompson, 26 years old, returning from her husband's funeral in North Carolina. Her parents lived in Arizona. His family had complicated feelings about military service. She was completely alone. 3 of our volunteers met her at baggage claim. Maria Santos, a Navy mom from Joliet. Robert Kim, an Army veteran from Oak Park. And me, carrying a sign that simply said, "Welcome home, Ashley. You're not alone." Ashley broke down the moment she saw us. Not sad tears, relief tears. The kind that come when you realize you're not invisible after all. We drove her home to her apartment in Berwyn, helped her carry her bags upstairs, left her with homemade casserole from Maria's kitchen and Robert's phone number programmed into her contacts. The photo Maria took, Ashley hugging all 3 of us in the Midway pickup area, went viral within hours. Hashtag Bridge Home Project started trending locally, then nationally. That's when Kevin called. First time I'd heard his voice since the funeral. He sounded smaller somehow. "Jen? It's me. I saw the thing in the Tribune about your project. It's really great what you're doing." Silence. I wasn't going to make this easier for him. "Listen, I wanted to send a donation. Anonymous, if that's okay? I have your Venmo information from when we split dinner that one time." Kevin. "Yeah." The Tribune article mentioned we need volunteers more than money. People who can show up. Another pause. Longer this time. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty busy with work and... I know. I kept my voice gentle but final. That's what I figured. He donated $200 the next day. Anonymous, like he'd promised. It paid for gas cards for 3 pickups. Mom's response was different. She started showing up to my public appearances uninvited. Never approached me directly, just watched from the back of rooms. Standing by doorways at community meetings, sitting in the last row at my Tribune interview. Like she was trying to figure out who I'd become, this daughter-in-law who turned her abandonment into something that made strangers cry and cheer and open their wallets. By month 3, Bridge Home had conducted 47 airport pickups across Chicagoland. By month 6, we were opening chapters in Milwaukee and Indianapolis. But the pickup that changed everything happened on a rainy Tuesday morning at O'Hare. Her name was Carmen Rodriguez, no relation to the petty officer Rodriguez who'd first met me at this same terminal 6 months earlier. Army wife, 23, returning from her husband's funeral at Arlington National Cemetery. Family drama, she'd explained over email. Complicated relationships. No one available to pick her up. Standard Bridge Home assignment, except for one detail that made my hands shake when I read her intake form. She was Kevin's age. She looked exactly like I had 8 years ago when David first deployed. I assigned myself to her pickup, along with 2 regular volunteers, Janet from Wheaton and Mike from Elmhurst, both Gold Star parents who never missed a call. We stood at Terminal 3 arrivals with our usual sign, "Welcome home, Carmen. You're not alone." But when she walked through those sliding doors, wheeling a single black suitcase and clutching a folded flag against her chest, I saw something that stopped me cold. Kevin. Standing 20 feet away by the Hudson News, phone in hand, watching. He wasn't supposed to be there. I hadn't told him about this pickup. But Chicago is smaller than you think when you're both living in the suburbs, and Carmen's story had been featured in the Naperville Sun the day before. Our eyes met across the terminal. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Carmen spotted our sign and rushed over, tears already starting. "Thank you," she whispered as Janet wrapped her in a hug. "Thank you for being here. I didn't know what I was going to do." Mike took her suitcase. I took her arm. We walked toward the exit as we always did, a small convoy of care in the middle of a busy airport. But Kevin followed. Not close enough to intrude, but close enough to witness. Close enough to see Carmen's face when she realized 3 strangers had driven 40 minutes in Tuesday morning traffic, just to make sure she didn't walk out of O'Hare alone. In the parking garage, as we helped Carmen into Janet's SUV, Kevin finally approached. "Jennifer." I turned. Carmen looked between us, sensing family drama but too exhausted to care. This is what you do now?" he asked. Every time someone needs us." He looked at Carmen, who was already half asleep in the passenger seat, flag still clutched in her arms like something that might disappear if she let go. "How many?" 82 pickups since March. Kevin's face did something I hadn't seen since we were kids. It crumpled, just for a second, before he pulled it back together. "I didn't know it would turn into this," he said quietly. "Neither did I." We stood there in parking level 3 of O'Hare International Airport, the same place where my story began, with a 23-year-old widow sleeping in an SUV and 2 strangers who become family waiting patiently to drive her home. "I should go," Kevin said. "Yeah." He walked toward his car, then stopped. "Jen? The next time someone needs picking up." I waited. Would it be okay if I? Kevin. "Yeah. We meet every Sunday at 2 p.m. Naperville Community Center, Room B." He nodded and drove away. Carmen slept the entire ride to her apartment in Schaumburg. When we got her settled with groceries and phone numbers and promises to check in tomorrow, she hugged me at the door. "How did you know?" she asked. "How did you know I needed this?" I thought about that question all the way home. Kevin showed up the following Sunday. He sat in the back row of our volunteer meeting, hands folded in his lap like a nervous teenager. Didn't speak during introductions. Didn't volunteer for any assignments. Just listened as we coordinated pickups for the week and discussed our expanding chapter network. After the meeting, he lingered while others filtered out to the parking lot. "I don't know if I'd be good at this," he said when it was just us and Maria, who was packing up the coffee supplies. "What makes someone good at it?" I asked. He thought for a moment. "Showing up, I guess. That's literally the only requirement." Kevin's first pickup was the following Tuesday. Marine Corps spouse named Daniel Wu, returning from his husband's funeral in San Diego. Family wasn't supportive of the marriage or the military service. Double rejection. I paired Kevin with Sandra, one of our most experienced volunteers, a woman who'd buried 2 sons in 2 different wars and somehow still showed up every week with homemade cookies and infinite patience. They met Daniel at Midway. Kevin texted me a photo afterward, 3 people standing by baggage claim, Daniel in the middle holding a folded flag, Kevin and Sandra flanking him like bookends. "Kevin," he cried when he saw the sign. "I thought I was going to lose it." "Me, how do you feel?" "Kevin, like I understand why you do this." By Thanksgiving, Kevin had done 8 pickups. By Christmas, 15. He never missed a Sunday meeting. Mom's approach was different, as always. She started volunteering at the VA hospital in Hines, reading to patients in the spinal cord unit. Never mentioned my name, never made the connection public. But every few weeks she'd send me a photo, her sitting beside someone's bed, book in her lap, both of them smiling. No text with the photos. No explanation. Just evidence that she was showing up somewhere. The first time she attended one of our official Bridge Home events was the 6-month anniversary celebration at the Marriott in Lisle. 200 people, including 30 families we'd served. Carmen was there, looking healthier and laughing with Ashley Thompson and some of the other young widows who'd formed their own support circle. Mom sat at a table in the back with Kevin and his wife Lisa. When I gave my speech about the growth of the project, now operating in 8 Midwest cities, I could see her in the audience, hands pressed to her mouth, eyes bright with something that looked like pride mixed with regret. After my speech, during the reception, she approached the stage where I was talking with a reporter from the Chicago Sun-Times. "Jennifer," she said quietly, "when you have a moment." The reporter excused himself. We stood alone beside the photo display showing our first year of pickups. I see you, she said. I see what you built. I see who you became. I waited. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you landed. I know. I'm proud of you. I know that too. We hugged then. Not the performative kind for photos, but the real kind that happens when two people finally stop pretending they don't need each other. There's another pickup Thursday, I said as we separated. If you're interested. I'd like that. 1 year later, I stood in the same Terminal 2 at O'Hare where this story began, holding a sign that read, "Welcome home, Jennifer. You're not alone." But this time, I was the one doing the welcoming. The woman walking toward me looked exactly like I had 12 months ago. Black dress, folded flag, eyes that had seen too much grief for someone so young. Rachel Morrison, Army widow, returning from Fort Bragg after burying her husband of 3 years. Behind me stood my team, Kevin, Mom, Sandra, Maria, and 2 newer volunteers, Carmen and Ashley, who'd graduated from recipients to providers in the beautiful way that healing sometimes works. Rachel. I stepped forward as she approached. I'm Jennifer. We're here to take you home. She broke down immediately. Not unusual, most of them do. But as she cried into my shoulder, I realized something profound. I wasn't thinking about my own airport arrival anymore. I wasn't reliving that cold November afternoon when my phone buzzed with Kevin's rejection and Mom's disappointment. I was fully present in this moment, with this woman, doing exactly what I'd needed someone to do for me. We drove Rachel to her apartment in Aurora. Kevin carried her bags while Mom unpacked groceries in her kitchen. Carmen and Ashley sat with her on the couch, sharing stories and phone numbers and the kind of understanding that only comes from walking the same dark path. When we finally left her settled and surrounded by care, Kevin and I found ourselves alone in the parking lot. You know what's funny, he said, leaning against his car. I used to think family meant having the same blood or the same last name. What do you think now? I think it means showing up when someone texts you at their lowest moment. We'd had this conversation before, in different words. But it felt right to have it again, here in this ordinary suburban parking lot where so many of our bridge home stories began and ended. The project's expanding to Detroit next month, I told him. They need a regional coordinator. You offering me a job? I'm offering you a purpose. Kevin grinned, the first completely happy smile I'd seen from him since we were kids. When do I start? The Bridge Home project now operates in 43 cities across 15 states. We've conducted over 2,000 airport pickups and connected military families with resources they never knew existed. Last month, we were featured in Military Times and received a commendation from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. But my favorite statistic isn't about growth or recognition. It's this: in 12 months of operations, not a single military family member has had to walk out of an airport alone after a funeral. Not one. Every Tuesday, I still drive past the group chat notification on my phone, archived but somehow still visible in my message history. Flight lands at 3 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I just buried my husband. It reminds me that some messages change everything. Not because of what they ask for, but because of who chooses to answer. And sometimes, when no one answers, you become the answer for someone else.